It had been 5 years since Linda last walked down Olafimi Street in Sorule. The road was still stubborn with potholes, and the trees that once shaded children's playtime now leaned lazily, like old men tired of standing. The same noisy Akara woman still sat by the corner with her wide frying pan, flipping hot brown balls with a flick of her greasy spoon. Everything looked smaller now, smaller and slower. Linda adjusted her sunglasses and clicked her heels against the uneven ground. The breeze didn't smell of vanilla candles or fresh laundry like her Lecky apartment. It smelled like dust and palm oil, like yesterday's struggle still hanging in the air. She carried herself like someone allergic to the place. Her wig was long and expensive, her nails red and sharp like warning signs. Her jumpsuit hugged her body like it was sewn onto her skin, and the gold strap of her Michael Kors bag swung proudly on her shoulder. She had come for her cousin's traditional wedding and thought, why not stop by the old street for a quick hello? But she didn't prepare herself for what, or rather who, she saw. Debbie! She blinked, stopping mid-step. There she was, Deborah, her childhood best friend. Same soft brown skin, same quiet eyes, but now, sitting beside a wooden table stacked high with bread, white loaves, brown loaves, butter rolls wrapped in nylon, and chin-chin in small plastic jars. Debbie was wearing a plain yellow dress, her hair in simple cornrows. She held a small calculator in her left hand and used the other to tuck change into a black pouch. Linda. Debbie smiled, standing up with a bit of flour dust on her sleeve. Is this really you? Linda stayed, not sure whether to smile or frown. Wow. So you're still here? She laughed a little too loudly. Still selling bread? Debbie's smile faded a little, but she kept it warm. Yes, I still help my mum with the shop. Linda looked around theatrically, like someone searching for hidden cameras. She pulled out her phone. Wait, this one needs to enter Instagram, she said, flipping to camera mode. Can you imagine? My best friend from secondary school still selling bread in 2025. A god. She took a photo, without asking, while Debbie was adjusting the bread. Debbie didn't say anything. She just looked down at her hands, as though the flour on her palms was more important than what had just happened. Linda walked away not long after, her high heels clacking against the road, leaving behind the scent of imported perfume and the echo of artificial laughter. That night, the photo was posted with the caption, "This is why you must leave the trenches early. No be everybody go blow face with tears of joy hash from Sorulid to success hash bread still no be soft life." It was supposed to be a joke, just something for bents. But the internet didn't laugh. Comments poured in like floodwater. This is wickedness. How do you shame someone feeding her family? She looks happier than you they. Imagine betraying your friend just for likes. Clout chaser. God bless the bread seller. She's the real queen. The post was reposted on Twitter, WhatsApp groups, blogs. Linda's handle began trending, not for fame, but for cruelty. Debbie didn't say a word online. She didn't defend herself. She didn't respond. But the next day, the table where she sold bread was empty. No loaves, no jars, no Debbie. Just an old wooden stool and crumbs where dreams used to sit. Linda scrolled through her comments with shaky fingers, the laughter stuck in her throat now. For the first time in a long time, she didn't post anything for days. But the damage had already been done. Something had broken, and it would not be fixed with a filter. The first time Linda met Debbie, they were both fighting over the last gala in the school canteen. It was a hot Friday afternoon in Primary 5, and the bell had just rung for break. Linda, hungry from missing breakfast, had sprinted to the canteen only to meet a quiet girl in oversized sandals reaching for the same snack. "You take it," Debbie said quickly, pulling back her hand. Linda blinked. "You don't want it." "I want it," Debbie said, but you look like you need it more. Linda didn't know if it was kindness or sarcasm, but she took it anyway and tore it in two. They sat under the mango tree, sharing the gala and sipping one bottle of Fanta through two straws. That was how it started. Over the years, they became inseparable. When one got punished, the other stayed back to wait. They plaited each other's hair during long holidays and held hands when thunder frightened them at night. They shared textbooks, boiled groundnuts, whispered crushes, and sometimes even tears. In SS2, when a senior accused Linda of stealing lip gloss from her locker, it was Debbie who stood in front of her like a small soldier and said, "Check my bag first." After WAEC, their paths changed. Linda won a scholarship. Some NGO picked her out of dozens because of her grades and confidence during interviews. By the time she left for university in Abuja, she had already started wearing makeup and watching YouTube tutorials on how to walk like a boss babe. Debbie stayed back. Her mom's mild stroke meant the bread business needed hands. She got admission to Polytechnic, but deferred it. "Just 1 year," she told Linda. "I'll catch up later." 1 year became 2. 2 turned into never. They drifted slowly, like 2 paper boats in different rivers. By the time Linda graduated and got a job at one of Lagos' hottest PR firms, she had almost forgotten the days of Gala and Fanta. The viral post changed everything. Not just for Debbie, for Linda too. The comments didn't die down like she expected. Instead, they multiplied. Bloggers picked it up. Twitter feminists chewed her up. Her company, Waves and Bloom Events, called her in. "This is not the kind of attention we want," her boss said flatly. Linda tried to explain. "It was a joke. I knew the girl. We grew up together." "Even worse," her boss replied. "You mocked a friend. You mocked your roots." That Friday, she was escorted out with a thin envelope and a silence that felt heavier than insult. Her influencer boyfriend, Sean, full beard, full ego, offered zero comfort. "Babe, I beg, I can't be linked to this kind of heat. You're messing with my brand." And just like that, he was gone too. The following month was a blur. Rent notices, silent calls, bank app red and dry. Eventually, she packed her wigs, one suitcase, and her microwave, and moved back to Surulere. Back to the 2-bedroom flat where her mother still hummed gospel songs while cooking okra. The road home didn't feel like memory. It felt like punishment. She saw Debbie again on a rainy Tuesday. Linda had gone out with her scarf tied tight, rushing to buy Indomie and egg. As she approached the shop, she slowed. Debbie was there, again. Still quiet, still kind-eyed, still surrounded by loaves of bread wrapped like humble promises. "Hi," Linda said, voice barely above the drizzle. Debbie looked up and smiled. Not the type of smile that forgave or mocked. Just peaceful. "You're back." Yeah. Linda cleared her throat. "Needed to reset my life a bit." Debbie nodded. "That happens." There was a pause. The air smelt of rain and roasted corn. "About that post," Linda started, eyes searching the sky. "I didn't mean to." "It's bread," Debbie said softly, almost like a hymn. "Not shame." And that was it. No rebuke. No long speech. Just a soft line that folded Linda in guilt sharper than shouting ever could. From that day, something started to gnaw inside Linda. Not just shame, but curiosity. The strange part began a few weeks later. Linda was at a nearby estate, delivering documents for her mother's women's fellowship. As she waited by the gate, a black Toyota Highlander rolled in. The driver stepped out in uniform, opened the door carefully, and out came Debbie. She was wearing a simple green dress, heels, and a laptop bag. No bread, no calculator, no dust. Their eyes met. Debbie blinked in surprise but smiled politely. Then she walked in, calm, composed, like someone who knew exactly where she belonged. Linda stood frozen, envelope in hand, heart confused. Days later, she saw her again, this time at a bank event in Victoria Island. Linda had tagged along with a friend for networking. She was sipping Zobo in a paper cup when she turned around, and there was Debbie talking to one of the managers. Her laughter was light. She wore a name tag that said, Deal Laid, vendor partner. The bread seller from Soryule, now mingling with bank executives? Linda's head spun. Back home that night, she sat on her mattress in the small room and stared at the ceiling. She could still smell the puff-puff someone was frying outside. Who exactly had Debbie become? And why did it feel like she, Linda, the one with the big dreams and sharper clothes, was the one left behind? The sky over Lekki was its usual dusty blue when Linda received the email. Subject, interview invitation, product and communications lead. She blinked at the sender, Loaf and Lush Foods, a food distribution company, young but growing. She had heard whispers about them, something about artisan bread, Nigerian pastries reimagined, and hotel partnerships. She didn't know much else, but the job was a job, especially when you'd been eating rice and fried pepper for 3 weeks straight. She borrowed a crisp white shirt from her cousin, polished her only pair of decent black flats, and took 2 buses to get to the office. The building was clean and modern, tucked behind a quiet lane off Admiralty Way. Everything smelled of potential. The receptionist gave her a polite nod. Please have a seat. Someone will attend to you shortly. Linda rehearsed her pitch in her head, her experience with PR, her Lagos connections, her creativity. She could sell water to a dolphin. She still had it. The door to the main office opened, and the world tilted. Debbie, in a white shirt dress, her natural hair in a curly puff, no makeup, just lip balm. She walked with quiet grace, the way people do when they are not trying to prove anything. Linda blinked, then stood slowly. Debbie. Good afternoon, Debbie said calmly, gesturing to the inner office. Come in. Linda followed, confused, every step heavier than the last. The room wasn't grand, but it was impressive, neat with floors, a vision board, fabric swatches, flavor charts, even framed letters from partner hotels. One photo showed Debbie standing beside an older white man with a wine glass in his hand. A caption read, with Mr. Grant, our first angel investor. Street Food Fair, 2022. There was no desk between them, just 2 chairs and a small round table. Debbie's Saturday. Linda followed. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You're the CEO. Yes, Debbie replied, as though it was simply, I had lunch. Linda exhaled, staring at her knees. I don't understand. Debbie leaned back, hands folded on her lap. After the post, I closed the shop. Not because I was ashamed, but because it reminded me of how loud the world could be when someone else holds the microphone. Linda said nothing. Debbie continued, her voice as soft as ever. I used the little savings I had to take online baking classes, free ones at first. I learned about packaging, branding, shelf life. My mom and I started baking from the kitchen. We supplied to 2 local stores. Then a street food fair accepted us. She paused, eyes not angry but distant, like she was recalling someone else's life. I met Mr. Grant there. He liked my coconut rolls. Said he'd never tasted anything like it. We stayed in touch. Months later, he introduced me to an investor group. They liked the numbers, the story, the product. Linda looked up slowly. You never told anyone. Why should I? Debbie smiled faintly. Not everyone needs a hashtag. Silence lingered like thick steam from boiling stew. I bake bread, Debbie said, finally locking eyes with her. You baked shame. The words weren't cruel. They were facts, folded neatly and served warm. Linda swallowed. I thought I was helping you, pushing you to want more. You weren't helping, Debbie replied. You were laughing. The silence stretched again. The room was quiet, but Linda's ears rang. I didn't invite you here for revenge, Debbie added after a moment. Your resume showed up in the shortlist. I recognized the name. So why not cancel me? Linda asked. Her voice cracked. Why not humiliate me back? Debbie shrugged, standing slowly. Because I remember the girl who tore her gala in half so we could share. I remember the one who held my hand when my father died. She walked to the door, then turned gently. But I also remember the woman who forgot me as soon as the lights came on. Linda sat there, feeling like an empty shopping bag. Crumpled, carried, then discarded. You can leave now, Debbie said, or stay in Ina's seat. Not everyone gets a second chance. But you used to be better. The rain started slowly, as if the sky itself was trying to make up its mind. Linda had no umbrella. She didn't even have a bag, just her CV in a plastic file and a half-dead phone in her pocket. She didn't bother looking for shelter. She just walked. The streets of Lekki, so familiar and once full of pride, now looked like tall mirrors reflecting a version of her she couldn't recognize. Her blouse stuck to her skin. The cold got into her bones. She could feel her mascara melting. Not that it mattered. Nobody was looking at her. Nobody cared. By the time she reached the junction where she'd have to enter a keek, she stopped walking. Her chest didn't tighten. She just felt quiet, like someone who had been running toward the wrong thing for a very long time. She walked the rest of the way home. Her mother was outside, picking bitter leaf from a large bowl. Jesus, you're wet like a rag, she shouted. Come inside, my friend. Linda walked past her and sat on the old couch inside. The power was out. The room was dim. Rain tapped gently on the zinc roof. Her mother came in, dried her head with a faded towel, and then just stood looking at her. Are you going to keep acting like your life was stolen, or will you finally accept that you helped burn it yourself? Linda blinked. Mummy. Don't mummy me, the woman said, sitting across from her. You've always looked down on people. Even in primary 6, you said you'd marry a governor because the other boys' shoes weren't fine enough. Linda looked down. You know what success is. It's doing the work with clean hands. It's sleeping well. It's not using your friend's pain to get likes on Instagram. Silence. I didn't raise you to chase empty things, her mother said softly, now looking tired more than angry. I raised you to build something, even if it's small, even if it's bread. Linda nodded. No defense. No tears this time. Just truth sitting between them like a bowl of cold or bono. 2 days later, a letter arrived by email. Subject: employment offer, loaf and lush. Linda stared at it for a long time before clicking. It wasn't dramatic. No fanfare. No pity. Just plain words. Debbie had written it herself. We believe your skills in communication and branding can help us reach more people. We believe you're capable. If you're ready, let's start again. No mention of the past. No guilt. Just room for something new. Linda stared at the screen for almost an hour. She didn't reply. She needed to do something else first. That Saturday morning, she woke up early, ironed her blouse, and wrapped a scarf on her head. She took the last N2000 from her small nylon purse and walked down to Mama Toke's bakery. It wasn't fancy, but the bread was still warm. She bought one big loaf, not sliced. She walked all the way to Debbie's estate. The security men were surprised to see someone arrive on foot. Name, the guard asked. Linda. Tell her, Her old friend came to return something. He looked at her, then smiled. She's always talking about you. Debbie opened the gate herself. This time, no makeup. Just her skin and a tied hair bonnet. Linda held out the bread. It smells like peace, she said, eyes soft. Debbie looked at her for a long moment, then took the bread carefully, like it was made of glass. Peace rises, she replied. And then she laughed, a warm, belly-deep laugh. Linda laughed too, not because anything was funny, but because something had been healed. It was the kind of Lagos evening where even the air seemed dressed up. Bright lights, red carpet, floral arrangements so big they looked like they were designed to impress God. It was the Women in Business conference, and the entire event hall inside Eco Hotel was packed with journalists, CEOs, and too many glasses of champagne. Linda stood at the side of the room, clipboard in hand, earpiece tucked neatly. Her dress was simple but sharp, her makeup light but confident. She was no longer the girl who had stormed out of Lekki with nothing but shame and a plastic file. She was now communications director of Loaf and Lush, one of the fastest-growing food companies in the country. And tonight, her best friend, no, her sister, was being honored. The MC's voice boomed through the speakers. And now, to present our award for Young Entrepreneur of the Year, please welcome Debbie Adeyemi. The hall erupted in applause. Debbie walked onto the stage in a wine-colored jumpsuit, hair swept up in an elegant bun. No notes in hand, no nerves on her face, just presence. She took the microphone, smiled gently, and began. I started by selling bread in front of my mother's shop. I didn't have a business plan. I had a small table, a borrowed umbrella, and the kind of hunger you don't write about on Instagram. The crowd chuckled. She continued, there was a day, someone took my picture and posted it with a caption that wasn't very kind. It went viral. At first, I cried. I stayed inside for 2 days. My mother thought I was sick. People in the audience murmured. Some already knew. Most did not. The interviewer on stage gently touched her arm. And how did you feel about that post, now that we're here? Debbie smiled. Not the sharp, media-trained smile. The real one. Sometimes, pain needs a push to become purpose. I'm grateful, she laughed. There was a small gasp from the crowd. The camera cut to Linda, who was seated now in the front row, eyes shining. She didn't flinch. She didn't hide. She smiled right back at Debbie, because they both knew. This wasn't shame anymore. This was story. Applause rang through the hall like thunder on a metal roof. But the loudest sound was inside Linda's chest, and it was not pain. It was pride. As the event drew to a close, the camera panned back to Debbie for her final words. She stepped away from the microphone slightly and looked straight into the camera, into the world. They say bread rises when it's under heat, she said, her voice steady. I guess I did too. This story teaches us that life doesn't follow the same timeline for everyone. Just because someone is selling bread today doesn't mean they don't carry the mind of a CEO. True value isn't in clothes, cars, or captions. It's in character, resilience, and the ability to grow in silence. One moment of pride can ruin years of friendship. One act of kindness can rebuild what was broken. Respect people. Don't let the glitter of your present make you blind to the quiet greatness in others. Because the truth is, everyone is rising, just at different times and in different ways. If this story touched you, take a moment today to call that old friend you may have left behind. Apologize if you need to. Forgive if you're able. Support someone's hustle, even if it doesn't look big to you yet. Reflect on how you treat others when no one's watching. Share this story with someone who needs the reminder. Greatness doesn't always look like what we expect. Sometimes, it wears an apron and sells bread.
Thank you for watching Story Lovers. Please like, subscribe, and turn on notification bell so you can get notified whenever we drop new stories.